So my veneers have been through the planer thicknesser. They are now about 2mm thick. The thicknesser tends to leave some streaks, and what I tend to do, rather than get a hand plane out on something as fragile as this, I just use a small scraper and I can just scrape the high spots off, and that's now giving me a nice smooth surface. So I've made sure I've got a nice smooth surface along the top of the headstock. I've made sure I've got all my centre line marked up, where my nut's going to start, where the veneer is going to finish, and I've also put a piece of masking tape over the truss rod channel, and I've just marked the centre line on there, so that way when I butt this up ready to glue it down, I can still see centre. So I think I said previously that this veneer is plenty long enough, but it's barely just wide enough, so I needed to centre it all up. So I'm going to centre it up along the end of the headstock just there, and then against the nut, and that should be fine. And then I'm going to basically get it all centred, and then I'm going to clamp it in place, just dry clamp it, and then I've got some cocktail sticks here, which I've cut these in half. Happily, Sainsbury's cocktail sticks are 2mm in diameter, so I've got a little 2mm brad point bit here. It's worth drilling in and using a cocktail stick as a locator pin rather than just hammering in a little pin, because this being 2mm thick, it'll just split, and I don't want that to happen. So I've got the shape of the headstock, or the rough shape of the headstock, marked out on top of the veneer, so I know where I can safely drill into without running the risk of seeing a cocktail stick sticking out the back of my headstock, which I don't want. Probably easier if I just file a little bit off the end, just round it over. There we go. Come on. There we go. The good thing about them being cocktail sticks is the little points on them makes it much easier. If I can find where it's going, to get them through the holes. There we go. Now I can prep the glue-in surface, and those aren't going to move anywhere. And I'm using an old neck template as a clamping caul, because I know that's going to put pressure in all the right places. Of course, I need to be careful when removing this as well, because this is such a thin piece of wood. I could quite easily split it. I did have an old credit card somewhere, but I can't find it, so we shall just have to get our hands dirty. Alright, if I get glue on the masking tape, that doesn't matter, because I'm going to be sanding down the top edge of the veneer anyway, to make the flat that the nut's going to sit on. I'll do that once it's all dry. But then once the veneer's all in place, and I can probably peel off the masking tape anyway, so it should be fine. I'll just make sure there's no bits that burst through that are going to affect the joint. That's okay. I might put a few more clamps on, just for luck. hopefully pulling off this bit of masking tape will also grab up that glue, some of it. I don't want to get it on my plywood clamping core. There we go. Headstock veneers have dried overnight. I'll get the clamps off and see what it looks like. I'm just going to cut off these cocktail sticks so they're not in my way. So what I'm doing now is I'm going to mark where my nut's going to go. So this line here is going to be the headstock end of my nut. It's a 6mm nut, and what I'm going to do now is create a flat here by planing down the edge of the veneer where it meets where the nut starts. I'm going to plane out a bit. Now I've done this before cutting out the rough shape of the headstock, because as my plane goes over and gets to the end, it's probably going to chip out there, which is okay because it's just waste. And I'm trying to go parallel to the top of the neck, that way I create a flat here, so I need to make sure it's flush with the top of the neck. There we go, first bit of chip out. Second bit of chip out. I'm just making sure that the edge of the veneer is completely flat and not protruding out from the neck at all. Almost. Cool, so now I've got this little flat here that my nut's going to sit on. There we go. So, to route my truss rod access, you see this familiar looking wedge. I've just stuck that onto the top of my headstock, and I've marked out where my truss rod access is going to go. And the reason I'm doing that is because this is perfectly flat, yet this tapers off. So I'm going to use this 1/2 inch round nose bit, and I'm going to route down 10mm here, and then as I move further along, that's going to become gradually shallower, because I don't want to keep going down 10mm, because I want to try and keep this channel as small as I can in order to maintain strength in the headstock, but I also need to have the desired 10mm access just there. So I'm just going to freehand this with a router now. So I've got my depth stop set to about 10mm. I'm just going to gradually creep down. There we go, so that's one fairly neat looking little truss rod access. So I just need to drill through there to get to my truss rod. Make sure I can get an Allen wrench in there to do its job. So this is a 9mm bit I've got in here, and I'm just going to carefully drill through until I find a truss rod. Get a smaller bit now. This way I don't manage to mangle the headstock from here. Trouble is the bit's not very long. There we go. So I've got my veneers all finished then. I've got the flap for the nut to sit on both of these. And I've routed my truss rod access channels for both of them. Now I had a bit of a dilemma with the ebony one. Basically what happened was, when I drilled down for the smaller hole into the access, basically I drilled slightly too steeply, so what that meant was the hole was just a tiny bit too low for the wrench to be able to reach into the truss rod. So quick and dirty method to fix that. Basically I started the drill inside and then I just used a little bit of upward pressure, and that basically shaved away some of the roof of this channel here, and that means I could get the wrench in there to access the truss rod properly. So now that that's all done, the next thing I'm going to do, which will be in the next episode, will be to rough out the shapes of the headstocks on the bandsaw and rough out the taper for the neck again on the bandsaw, and then I'll stick my template on and route the final dimensions of the necks. And then once that's done, it will be a case of gluing on fretboard blanks, and I'll then size the fretboard blank, so I'll rough cut out the edge and then I'll route the template of the fretboard around the final shape here. So I'm basically shaping the fretboard to the neck as opposed to shaping the neck to the fretboard.